All right, everybody, here we are. We're in Jupiter, Florida. Here's our friend Anthony. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good.
And then Anthony's going to show us his amazing yard. He has so many. He has 2.5 acres here, and a lot of it's ornamental. He has different types of gardens. He's going to explain everything. But he saw my fruit channel on YouTube, and we're going to look at his orchard. He has a bunch of trees. So tell us what you were saying. We're going to look at your whole yard, but tell us what you were saying about, your house is over there, but then on the side of your house is here, your orchard and your trees. But you have so much extra empty room, but you were doing a lot of this for the visual effect, not just for the food. So explain a little about your idea here, and then let's go through your orchard.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Basically, I wanted to have a garden. I didn't really like the term orchard because then it sort of implies it's a farm, and of course, farming is a money-making enterprise. This is totally for fun. And so my landscape is set up to be a beautiful garden that also happens to make fruit and vegetables and so on. So yeah, my placement of my orchard area is so that from the house you can't really see it, because I wanted some of the ornamental plantings to be the visual effect from our porch. So I have 5 rows. I have a mixed planting, and basically what I did is every other plant is going to be a mango, and the other plant is going to be something that maybe is a little bit more cold sensitive than we would like. And my idea was, when I planted this, was that the mangoes will grow no matter what. There's plenty of historical mango farms in the area. I know they're cold hardy. But things like my mamey, maybe some of the sugar apples, maybe some of the Atemoyas are a bit optimistic for our location. So when you take a look at the orchard, instead of having a solid row of mangoes and then a solid row of sapodilla and then a solid row of sugar apples, I actually interplanted my colder, sensitive fruit tree varieties between the mangoes. And so I figured, well, if in 5-10 years we have one of those 2010 frosts, at least I have the large mangoes they can fill in, and then I can come back and plant those cold sensitive varieties back underneath the canopy where they'll have protection. So one of the first things I did, we moved in 10 years ago, and this was a vacant lot, is I went to Lowe's and I bought those seedling soursops that they sell. And I just planted them out there to watch what would happen. I was skeptical they were going to live. I know people claim to have soursops growing. Yes, they live and maybe smashed against a house next to a pool, but are they going to live out in the middle of an open field? And after 2-3 years of watching soursops die to the ground, come back weekly, I realized that's not going to work. So I know that being just north of the Palm Beach County line, but just east of Jonathan Dickinson's State Park's eastern border, but not all the way to the ocean, not right on the river, I'm going to get some cold, and there's no way to avoid that. So out in my orchard here, my most cold sensitive plant that has persisted year to year is going to be my purple star apple. And I can show you that one. It's very unhappy every winter, but it has managed to come back. If I go more cold sensitive than that, it just dies.
And is that a grafted star apple or just?
Yeah, I have a green and a purple, but the purple is clearly. I mean, I realize I just have one of each, but the purple one gets unhappy a lot faster.
Okay.
So.
All right, and you get all your trees from local nurseries.
Yeah, I've bought, whether it be a plant sale at Mounts or the Palm Beach County's chapter of the Rare Food Council. I've spoke a lot with Connor Murphy with Incredible Edibles, Zane, what is the name of Zane's?
Zane's World.
Zane's World, that's right. Mike Luciano, Trees and More. He is a wealth of knowledge, and as far as I'm concerned, anybody planting trees in Martin County should just talk to him.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing it for so long, he knows what's going to work and not. And then Alex, of course, has sold me quite a few grafted
Tropical
mangoes.
Acres Farms, yes.
Yeah. So I've been very happy with all of those plant materials. And then, of course, when you buy at a sale, you don't really know, and some of those have ended up being poor quality. So.
Sure. Well, I see your orchard here, so I want to walk through there and talk to you about the trees you got and also the spacing. and the watering and the spraying and so on. So let's go through and take a walk. Now, much of your land here, though, it doesn't have trees. And like you said, your main goal of doing this was first for the visual effect.
Right.
And then for the fruit, it's more of a hobby than for
Yeah,
you.
my goal was to have lots of edible plants, a couple of vegetable gardens, but have them situated in a way that was visually pleasing. Uh, I worked as an ag agent for about 7 years, and I've looked at a lot of homeowner type or oversized community gardens, and they're a lot of work, and they often aren't very pretty. So yes, my orchard was specifically situated to the side of my house and buffered not just for cold issues and wind issues, but also so that a lot of the other colorful plants I have here can sort of take the show, and you can walk around and just randomly pick fruit, you know.
Very nice.
So
Well, we're gonna go look at them now. Perfect. Yeah. So that's you. Few banana trees here.
yeah, that's dwarf Brazil,
Okay.
that particular one. And then yucca, scrummy chama, peanut butter fruit, miracle fruit. There's a persimmon I just purchased at the Palm Beach County chapter sale. They had a Triumph.
Oh, you got
You
one
see
of
that
those.
little?
Okay.
You
Yes, I
saw that
was
little
there,
Triumph in there?
and I was telling everybody these are gonna go fast, and they did
Oh.
go fast.
Uh,
Where's your persimmon? Which one is it?
that little stick.
There it is.
I have a bigger one over here, but that one I just bought. What was it? Two weeks
Yeah,
ago?
Good move. Good move.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Uh, I even bought. Zane always sells me plants I don't have. I even forgot the name. I have to go check the tag. That little guy right there. So
Alrighty, that looks good here. But here's the exciting part here. So tell us here. So it looks like everything's in nice order. So show it. How far apart did you plan and plant these?
all right. So when I designed my orchard, I made all my rows run north south.
Okay.
So right now you're facing north with the camera. And as you can see, I placed things that would stay smaller or are reported to be less vigorous growers on the south side because I wanted to maximize the amount of light that made it north. So as you can see, you got a jabo right here. We know that guy's not going to become a shade tree. We know it's going to take a long time for that guy to get to a decent size. And then I have a cotton candy, and then a purple sugar apple. I can't quite see further.
Yeah, we'll go down. Yeah.
We can get there. But the general idea is to put the smallest stuff south. And I tried to the best of my ability to plan the mangoes specifically, but also some of the other fruit trees, so that the harvest started south and moved north, with the idea that once I harvest the fruit, I cut the tree back, and the tree behind it gets as much light as is possible. All of these trees, pretty much, there's a couple 7 gallons, but most of them were 3 gallons that I purchased in 2019. And this entire setup here was planted during the 2020 COVID lockdown. So while I was trying to make my kids' computers work, to go to school, I was also planting trees. So there's a couple trees that I've since replaced because either I didn't like the fruit or it just didn't really thrive. But pretty much everything here went in spring 2020. So this is the 3rd complete growing season.
And I see you got water here. So
Yeah.
how often do you water them?
Well, right now I have all of these guys on drip irrigation.
On a well?
Yeah, I have a well. I've cut back the watering because it's cooled off. I can adjust it for whatever I want. But during the growing season, when there's fruit, I'm going to water them every day. The emitters are 1 gallon per hour. I believe I have 12-inch spacing on the emitters. So you can sort of do the math as to how much water it is. But of course, now it's more of I want them to dry out. I want them to stop growing. I don't want vigorous growth. You can see that Beverly's kicking out new growth. That's great for now. But, in another month or two where we could potentially have a cold spell, I would prefer the plants to be hardened off. So I'm not watering. I'm watering as needed right now.
Now, do you spray the trees for insects or anything like that?
Not. It would be an individual situation. The only routine spraying I'm doing are micronutrients, fertilizer, and then of course, when the mangoes are flowering, I'm going to hit them with fungicide. In my experience, a healthy tree doesn't get a lot of pests, especially when they're young and vigorous like these. And the pests I do get are usually like sap-sucking type, like aphids, mealybugs, whiteflies. And so one thing I do routine is I bait my entire property for pest ants. Because if you can get rid of the pest ants, the beneficials will take care of those soft-bodied sap-sucking insects.
And the soil that's under your trees, was that special soil or did you just get topsoil?
So this property was never graded, and our elevation changes from the far west side. I'm about 12 feet above sea level, but once you go to my entry gate, you're down to about 8 or so. So everything pitches. You can see that dead grass right there. All that water pitches that way. So what I did, and it could be wrong, but what I did do is I purchased topsoil, a tree and shrub mix that they sell at the soil yard. And the trees that were planted on mounds versus the trees planted in ground were reported to have less or less flooding tolerance than the ones in the ground. Now, where did that come from? That came from an IFAS publication. So we know mangoes are pretty tough, but when doing the layout, some things like the avocados definitely went on the mounds. Whereas the at-grade stuff, in order to save money on buying soil, was either Ademoyas on sugar apples, custard apples on sugar apples, something like that, sapodillas, or something that at least was reported to not mind wet feet. Because I do have very poor internal drainage. This is not. This
So does it flood here? Does it? Or does it
Yeah, no.
get
As
wet?
a matter of fact, I have photos I could show you. We had a 500-year event. It was one of those where the storm just opened up, and we had like 20 inches in a week, and it came up over 100-year berms, like the community behind me, and literally came up and over. And so I had raised these mounds to be above that. And when it was all done, after it was done raining, it came out, the water was just below the root flare of the trees that are on the mounds.
Wow.
But thankfully, we have an outfall here. So right out to the street is a ditch that directly drains into a wetland that directly drains into the Loxahatchee. So, it's not like I'm out west in Wellington where I look at water for days. In my case, it happens, and by the next day, you don't know it's here. So I have poor internal drainage, but it does run off.
Right. Well, let's go through it. How far apart is the spacing on what you did here?
Anyway, I'd have to double check. I don't want to be a liar, but I'm pretty sure I did 12 and 14 feet, I think. We could get a tape measure.
12 and 14 feet.
Yeah, so basically the smaller trees, actually it might be 14 feet than 16. But basically on the south side, I planted them a couple feet closer so I could fit in some of these little shrubby type things and the dragon fruit. But then the bigger mangoes, say like a kit, well, I have a kit on the very end of the row. He'll be able to get as big as he wants because he's not going to shade anything. So at the far end of the row on here, I have a jackfruit. We know those get huge. I put it all the way in the back because I know that controlling size is going to be an issue. It may be 14 and 16 feet.
So you thought about this a lot, and between the rows, how much?
There's like 20-some feet between it. I'd have to go measure.
Okay.
I didn't know you were going to quiz me. I could have.
Okay. Well, I quiz everyone here because we want to know to help people figure this out. So if you wanted to, you could put a little row in between there. If you decided, it'd be a lot of work. But
I wouldn't. I want the air movement and I want the sun.
Got you.
In my opinion, you're going to have an easier to care for tree, and you're going to get more fruit out of less trees that have good air movement. I mean, if I put in another row, there wouldn't be light.
Exactly.
Sufficient.
And two things I want to mention is, number one is, for some reason you said this area, so like some of the trees down where I am in Palm Beach County might get bacterial black spot, and if for some reason you said in this area, the mango trees that normally get the BBS don't really get affected as much up in this area.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but in my case, my trees are young. In my case, I got good air movement. You can see the trees moving despite there being no significant breeze. They're small, the air moves, and I spray them with copper. Maybe in 5 years, not so much.
Sure.
But you can see the size of the trunks of my mangoes relative to the height. You see people all the time with 10-foot trees, but over half the tree's green. So I have been continuously heading these back every year at as high as I can reach, about 7 feet. And I did that already this year. potentially their canopy will potentially increase 30-40%, and I'm going to take them right back to 6 feet again.
And the other thing is, Julian at Laura Farm says if you're on the east coast of 95, you're in something called the honey zone.
Yeah.
Because the best place to grow is in this area,
Yeah.
east of 95. You're only how far from the ocean?
Oh, just as a bird flies, but a few miles. You know, the river's right here. That's thousands of feet away. It's, you know, not that far at all. So maybe 2 miles or so.
2
It's not
miles
very
from
far.
the
You can see. So in my case, like, you know, I have friends in Jupiter Farms that grow fruit, and the air doesn't move there. But if you come this far east in the summer, I have air movement, you know, maybe half the time, versus say like where my mom lives, right, literally downtown West Palm Beach, it's constantly moving. So I'm
Right.
sort of, I don't want to say I have great air movement, but I have better than if you're on the other side, 95 for sure.
All right. Well, let's take a look here. Everyone's excited to see these trees. I know I am. So you have a Java Cabo here in the front here.
Yeah.
And as you say, you really thought this out in terms of the growth of each tree. Here's dragon fruit.
Yeah, with some blueberries.
Okay.
I have extremely high pH soil. My pH on this site is 8. I have lots of seashells and stuff, so
Now this dragon fruit, is it going in the ground or just staying in the pot?
It's staying right there.
I mean, is there a bottom to that pot?
It's open. That's a cut piece of resin.
Now, your drain field's not anywhere near here, is it?
No.
Okay.
We're on sewer now. Anyway.
Oh, you're on sewer. Okay.
No, this area is so cotton candy is a Kapong mauve.
Okay, so I want to look at this here because I have one of these here. Did you get fruit off it yet?
Yes.
Okay, there's like a red sugar apple here,
right.
Kapong mauve.
I liked my green one better.
Yeah,
sorry if I ruined it for you.
No, I love mine. I get fruit on mine. It does great. Okay, and that's cotton candy. And what's this here?
Dwarf Hawaiian.
Dwarf Hawaiian. That's a semi-dwarf tree here.
This guy, this lychee should be a sweetheart.
So now, I know you talked about the cold sensitive, but like that's a smaller tree. This is a bigger tree, and that's a big. Well, that's not too big, but the cotton candy is bigger than the dwarf Hawaiian. So I thought you were putting your smaller trees.
I tried to the best I could, but there were some compromises based on pruning and stuff. But yes, you can see that I push them that way, and I worked off the descriptions that Alex provides on his website. So
got you.
In the middle here, as I was telling you how I spaced out cold hardy versus cold sensitive, I had decided to put my lychees and my longans, which you know are quite cold sensitive, right in the middle. So on the north side of my property, I planted this clusia hedge specifically to block wind. And about halfway through the orchard, I did a row of cold hardy fruit trees. And so what you're going to see as soon as you get past that longan, I think that one is, was it BUQ or something? Then you're going to see a Mei, which we know is more cold sensitive.
Do you know what variety of Mamey that is?
It's labeled, I think it's Pace.
Pace, beautiful.
Pace.
And you gave it a very good amount of space, so that's wonderful.
Well, as soon as you get to the lychee, notice how much the space increases. So the trees that I perceive I could keep smaller are much tighter. And then as you go away, they get further and further apart.
Okay. And then,
coconut cream, which I got a lot. I probably had 30, 40 fruit off this tree this year.
Wow, that size, that's nice.
It started in the spring. It started about this size. And then, of course, I had to really cut it back.
So it's a 3 gallon you got in 19.
I bought it sometime in either the summer or fall of 19 and planted in 20. Okay. Oh, look, a squirrel stole one of my super house.
So,
and this is jackfruit. Hasn't done anything for me yet except grow crazy.
Do you know what kind it is?
Tony Morris Red.
Okay.
It's an extremely happy, vigorous grower. If you were to look into the canopy, it's been headed back a million times, and a storm blew it over a couple months ago. That's why this one's staked. But no fruit yet. But if you take a look into that canopy here, you can see all the times I've headed it back to try to just contain the size. It's been a struggle to keep small.
All right, so here we have in this row.
This is my purple star apple. It's by far the most unhappy plant at the end of every winter. But it has managed to come back. Nice. I got a little time. I got some fruit off of it, but a lot of it, because of when the fruit was on the tree and when the cold happened, was a very low quality.
Okay.
Priestley,
Okay.
the Priestley on pond apple.
Oh, nice.
I got that one from Mike. I learned a
Nice.
lesson this year. When I hand pollinated all of my stuff, I mixed the sugar apple and the Adamoya pollen just because I was lazy, wanted to do it all at once. And I got really small misshapen fruit. And Mike told me a treason more. He's like, no, don't mix the pollen. He said, Adamoya pollen, Adamoya. Sugar apple pollen, sugar apple.
Not doesn't matter the rootstock. You're talking about what's on top.
Right, for the pollination. But I did, on this one, I wanted to buy pond apple rootstock because of, again, my concern about drainage.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
And here we go. What's that?
This guy is a
Sapodilla?
that is, I don't want to step right in front of your camera. Marina. Morena,
Yes,
yeah.
there's
Morenia.
fruit on there right now. Okay.
This is
Persimmon?
a Tananashi persimmon.
What kind of persimmon?
Tananashi, if I'm saying it correctly,
Okay.
Tananashi. A seedless variety, not particularly sweet. From what I read about, it's actually used for drying to help the sugars concentrate. And it was pretty good. Not as good as some of the others I've had, though.
Yes. Okay.
But I went with that one because it was lower chill hours. This is a butterscotch. I was
Nice.
planted as a barely grafted 1 gallon. So that's how much it's grown. And
See the graft there too.
yeah, it was, I got that.
Is that your first fruit on there?
Yeah. Well, I had one other fruit, but it hung out forever and it just wasn't going anywhere because the tree was so small. So I just cut it off. Silas.
Silas Wood. You know, I met the original Silas Wood tree.
Yeah.
I was at the house. Amazing. They're in Homestead.
That's a, it's a smaller tree. So again, we're getting back south again.
Star fruit.
No, this is one of those odd jabos
Okay.
that actually Connor sold me this one called just Blue. It's a blue one. And again, as I wanted to make sure if you look this way in my rows to ensure there's good light penetration, I put those smaller trees to the south, and they're of course not going to shade the trees left and right. So that sun goes.
And
up.
also, you planted between here the rows.
Yes. Yes,
You
my
didn't
rows
just
are
make
staggered.
rows this way. Great.
Absolutely. So yes, if you look at the trees, each
Good
row
idea.
is 50% shifted.
Good idea. And you said you have 5 rows?
Yeah, total.
5 rows. And what do we got
This is
here?
an ice cream,
Ice cream. Okay.
and that's every year that thing's giving me lots of fruit. I think it's okay. Not on my
Okay.
top list. A Wirtz avocado. This one I did not plant originally. It replaced another plant that didn't do well, and so I said,
Okay.
you know what? Let's try the dwarf avocado and I've never tasted it yet. It's flowered.
Okay.
Beverly. I got a nice 10, 15 fruit off this tree this year.
Nice.
This replaced a poor performing persimmon, and what I did is I added another custard apple because my San Pablo was so delicious that
Fernandez. All right.
I added Fernandez.
Yes.
But this was just planted, literally like a
Nice.
couple
Where'd you
months
get
ago.
that one?
From Connor. This one came
Yes.
from Connor.
Nice. Good.
Job. I think a lot of people should think about custard apple because it really fills a void in the fruit calendar. I was eating these February, March. Actually, the San Pablos, not this one. This
Yeah.
one just got planted. But this is a Pim. Why a Pim? Because I was told people eat it green. I wanted to have one that you could eat green.
Kim Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So, do you get any of this yet?
Not yet. This one is one of the few that have not flowered at all for me.
Okay.
And it's just growing. I don't know. This is a Mauritius.
Mauritius lychee. Okay.
Orange sherbet. Definitely
Alrighty.
wants to grow straight up, but I keep fighting with it. You can see I took out the center again.
Top notch.
This tree
mango.
would be, I don't know, 20 feet tall probably by now. It's a very aggressive.
top notch.
This
That's
guy,
good.
he set fruit, he flowered, and the frost got him. The late frost we had this year. The early flowering, the on-time frost, I should say. Super Haas.
Okay.
I got this from Mike.
That's great. And
Yeah.
You got fruit on there.
Yeah.
Super Haas.
Yeah.
Now, have you found on the Super Haas that it fruits evenly,
You mean the ripening?
ripening?
I realize people have said that, but so far I've had good luck. I haven't had the
Well, that's
issue.
good to know. Okay.
And that one you saw on the ground was the first one I've lost to an animal, so I may need to come pick them all now. That's the first one that came off.
Great.
And they're mostly black by now. I've picked them earlier, like a month ago, and they do ripen. So I think the beginning of October, at least in my area, you could probably get away with picking them a little earlier. But they didn't taste as good as last year when I waited till they were all black. I tried picking just to experiment, like some in August. They tasted terrible. They ripen, but
So now when do you wait till?
End of October. Like
Okay.
any day now.
Yeah, I just picked some of mine and wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my kit. I planted a kit despite all the negative feedback about the tree and like you said, the bacterial disease, and because my neighbor's given me kits on Halloween, and I can't think of another tree that's going to give me fruit on Halloween. And he tells me that he's had them in November.
Wow.
So I don't know what it is about the area. So I'll have to really, really work this tree to try to keep it reasonable size, but.
All right, that's that row there. Wow, I feel like a kid in a candy store. This is amazing. And here's his green
Yeah,
star
that's
apple.
the green. Yeah.
Camito.
I haven't gotten any fruit off this guy yet. It's set a couple, but then they always fall
It
off.
looks nice. It looks
We'll see what
nice.
happens.
Okay, they don't like the wind as much.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it. They did another custard apple. This is the one where I decided I needed another custard
This
apple.
was San Pablo.
Yes.
Nice.
And so
Beautiful.
I said, give me another variety I can get a hold of. And the Fernandez is the other one.
You got the best.
And,
you don't have the best two. You have the two popular ones that are
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Because there are others that are hard to get, but these are the top notch. And like I tell everybody, the Fernandez and the San Paulo are going to be my favorite tasting fruits in my yard when I grow them, when they start fruiting. But good job here. That's great. Okay.
And this is a Geffner. I got fruit off that the first year. Again, this one's on Pond Apple.
And how'd you like it?
It was good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I was sort of more stuck with, I want stuff that was going to perform well in my soil situation. And, I tried to have the longest, I can pretty much get fruit. If the year's right, my Rosy Gold can kick in April, and I can begin collecting fruit off these guys in February, March, and I can go all the way to November potentially.
Wow.
So that was the goal.
And this is what? Persimmon?
This is a Fuyu.
Fuyu persimmon?
Yeah, I got one off of it. This one also was not planted in this spring 2020. This was planted a year ago or something as a little guy. That came from the Broward counties. Their
Sale.
sales this weekend.
Yep.
That's it.
There's another Sapodilla.
Yeah, this is the popular commercial variety Alano.
Alano. Excellent. Excellent variety.
Yeah,
Okay.
and look. I got this tree from Mike. Look how beautiful it is. This was a
Beautiful tree.
3-gallon.
Wow.
Look at all the other saps I have. I got this one from him. And just look at the shape, how dark green it is.
Yeah, Micah trees and more is wonderful.
They're just, the trees
Wow,
just
this
take
one's
off.
loaded.
Yeah, this is a Maycock.
Maycock.
I
look
think
at
I got this one at a random sale. And so far, I haven't had the butterscotch yet because I haven't gotten it. But I like this one the best for flavor. And again,
Nice.
it's supposedly a smaller variety, and that's hold true. I thin the fruit to 2 per leaf. And maybe I'm too optimistic because it's so full. Maybe I should thin more.
Well, in this row here, it doesn't go out as far as the others because you have another dragon fruit
Yeah.
at the end here. With
Yeah, this is
blueberries
American
in it as
Beauty,
well.
and then blueberries.
Well, you thought it out, and that's what I tell people. Think about it. Think about the trees you're going to plant before you plant them.
That's a red Jabo.
Red
On all my
Jabo.
Jabos I've been eating off of that have been in the ground for a few years.
Red Jabo.
Yeah, you
okay.
can see fruit on there now. This guy was a 3-gallon that came from Mike. You can see it's flowering.
Yep.
I've been eating fruit all summer in
Nice.
waves. This is a Pineapple Pleasure.
Nice.
I
Pineapple pleasure.
haven't got any fruit from this guy yet. Flowered, set
Have
fruit.
you tasted it yet?
No.
Oh, okay, you're in for a
I
good
flowered, it's set fruit. The cold got it. It was full of fruit. Cold got it this year.
surprise. Okay.
So I would have been happy. It's a green sugar apple.
Green sugar apple.
Rosy Gold is the next one there.
Rosy gold. A semi-dwarf tree here.
Then the Emperor Lychee.
Emperor lychee.
And then this, if I got my long ends right, this one's the Kahala. I may have reversed it.
All right, here's a Kahala longin.
And it's definitely the case, based on my experience at this site, that the Kahala is 2 weeks earlier than the other variety I had. And it was like, that's what I had read on the Tropical Fruit Forum, and it was exactly on target. The fruit really did. Another Mamey, this one's Viejo.
Viejo
This
Mamey.
guy's been so happy. grown like crazy. So far,
Any fruit yet?
no. But again, I'm skeptical this will persist over the long term. If I was in West Palm, sure. But where I am in outlying areas, I don't know. Time will tell. This is a Maha Chinook. Now, there's an interesting story on this one is when I bought this at a nursery I won't name, the person pruned it for me. They said, well, you got to cut it back. It was a big, long 6-foot whip, you know? And so they cut it back to 3 feet or so, brought it home. A week later, it developed a rot, and it started to go straight down. And I said, oh, that's not good. So I cut it below the rot with some clean pruners. So when this guy was planted, he was like this.
Wow.
And so this is my smallest mango, even though they were all planted at the same time.
They catch up.
Yeah, we'll see. And then this last one is a
Jackfruit.
It's another jackfruit. I think it's what's the popular lemon one?
Bangkok lemon.
Yeah, I think that's it. Crunchy lemon, maybe.
Crunchy lemon.
Let me see what I actually got here. I got a lot of flowers. Yeah, this is the crunchy lemon. I've gotten a lot of flowers, a lot of male flowers. But these two mangoes were the same, or I'm sorry, these two jackfruit were the same exact size when I bought them. And I haven't done anything to head this guy back. Versus that Tony actually had planted some other stuff, but hurricanes kept knocking it over.
Wow.
So I decided to just do Barbados cherries mixed with an ornamental tree that's called the Milky Way tree.
So there's Barbados cherries here, and there's a beautiful Milky Way tree, ornamental, but yes. This is for a windbreaker. Now, what's the point of the cow hedge here? Or the fence here?
Oh, the fence. Hogs. Hogs and rabbits.
To keep them away from those trees?
No, to keep them out of my orchard. I don't care about the front yard.
Oh, I see, because the gate goes all the way around. Yeah. Got you. So what about pests? What do you get here? Do you get raccoons or squirrels or what?
Well, definitely in the area that's wide open here, if the fruit disappears, it disappears at night, and it's probably a raccoon. I don't have a lot of squirrel pests out here. We got hawks that come out of the park. The squirrels don't want anything to do with small trees. And they don't have anywhere to hide. They're in the open. Where my squirrels are a problem is in the heavily canopied area where I have the fruit trees under shade.
And what's your cure about the raccoons? What do you do?
Live with it.
Okay.
I'm not going to kill any raccoons. I can't do it.
Alrighty. So. Well, that's that. Any issues with your neighbors and your fruit?
No, not at all. I mean, I keep everything really, as you can see, I keep it all really tidy and all that sort of thing. And we have lots of people around us growing, whether it's one tree or 10.
And what do you do with all this fruit?
That's a good question. Give a lot of it away. Figure out ways to cook it.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons I don't mind keeping the trees small and really hacking them back. I would rather have less high-quality fruit than a lot of low-quality fruit. And so I don't mind cutting these trees back. I don't mind spraying if I need to spray them. I think it's, just my opinion.
So go ahead.
I just think it's foolish to let your trees get too big.
So less fruit that's higher quality.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then instead of a lot of fruit that's lower quality. Great. Yeah. Very good.
That's me personally. I mean, if you have an acre or two of fruit tree, it's more than you can eat. Why let the tree get huge on you? It's not going to do anybody any good.
Yeah. So here you see the rows and you see the trees that are dispersed, not complete rows that he planted in between these trees. So if you look at this from east to west, they're not rows. But if you look at them from north to south, they're rows. And he did it. How far between the rows, the spacing did you do?
I think that's about 25 feet.
25 feet behind that. And this is about anywhere between 14 to 16 feet.
14 to 16 or
16 inches, not feet, inches. And there, as we look around from the other view here, it's just a beautiful property here. And one person might ask, well, why didn't he just fill every space possible with a tree? Because that's not his goal here. His goal here is to keep this visually beautiful. And not that trees aren't visually beautiful, but he's keeping his trees beautiful. But he wants the openness. He wants the garden here. And he has his patches of area. He strategically thought about everything in this yard, every area of this yard. And he's continuing to think to build a house in the back there. So the hedges he has there are going to grow up and block that eventually. And from his porch area, we're going to stand up there and he's going to explain to you visually the goal he had here that's coming to fruition here, because his goal is working perfectly. he has also not only the fruit trees, he has here garden beds. He has 4 garden beds with room for more. And he also has another area where he's planted gardens in the ground. But he has some cement block garden beds, which are really cool.
We just did the tomato plants. We direct seeded carrots and lettuce. That's one little cucumber. Over there is the beets, more cucumber, more tomato plants, and then we'll eventually get rid of the marigolds and plant the other 2.
Nice, nice. And then he has this area over here. And everybody has to have a goal in mind before they start planting. And his goal isn't to have 1,000 fruit trees on 2.5 acres, which he could. His goal is to have a visually beautiful yard with different areas.
So we have the Rollinia, we have the sugarloaf pineapples there.
Where's the Rollinia?
To the left.
Okay.
You see it sticking over there to the left?
Yes, yeah,
Right, that
okay.
little guy.
We have some fruit trees here
I
as
got
well.
coffee back in there. I have coconuts. What is it? Achacha? Is that
Acha-cha, all right.
here? You go around, there's a black sapote.
Yeah, black sapote. You see that over there, okay.
Patomba. Another variety of pineapple, maybe jade, white jade, maybe Florida Elite. Another pineapple, an ice cream bean. There's a mulberry back in the corner.
That looks like a mulberry. That's ice cream bean.
Yeah, the mulberry straight back.
Mulberry straight there, okay.
Blackberry jam plant, another jaboticaba,
And these are all on water over here?
yeah, I have drip on the plants individually.
Lang Lang?
Yeah.
Beautiful smelling tree, Lang Lang.
And then, the June plums. Lemon Cattleya guava.
June plums, look, June plums are doing well
Past a
here.
few guavas. There's a lemon drop mangosteen straight ahead past the pine tree there.
So, yeah, you have some guavas, you said.
All of the ornamental areas are really a mix. Hog plum. We had talked about soursop earlier. I'm going to give it one more try. I actually, after...
What's that?
Where?
With the fruit on it, straight ahead.
Azura over there. Where are we going? Show me which. This is Azura.
Azura.
Right here. This is another one of those. Zane told me to buy it. If I'm saying it right, Azura. But this soursop I bought at Laura Farms. It's a grafted Miami.
Yes.
And I had tested, I think you mentioned earlier, I had tested seedling types and planted them out in the wide open orchard area. That didn't really work out too well. So I bought this guy as a grafted 1 gallon. And over a couple of years, got it up to a 15. And I planted it right under this live oak. And so it's only been in the ground as of this summer. So if this tree at this size doesn't make it this winter, I'm not going to mess with it.
I think you should dig it up right now and give it to me.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great tree, everybody. Miami soursop, and it will make it here.
Yeah.
But it depends also how the weather is, and
Yeah.
but that's nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I've tried numerous seedling ones in the wide open, and it just didn't pan out. They just got...
And then you have some native old
Yes.
trees.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you certainly have.
There's a pumpkin pie mamey in there. There's a pink guava in there. That's a blue Java banana. Truly tiny banana. We walk over there. I actually even tried, even though I know they sell it as rootstock, I decided to try cherimoya and see what happens.
Wow.
I planted it in a shady spot where I figured, okay, people say it doesn't like the heat, doesn't like the humidity. I can't do anything about the humidity, but you see that guy right there? Basically sheltered him from direct sun.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens.
Yes, what we're going to do here is, you see those steps there? We're going to stand on those steps and look at how his house looks from there and kind of give you a close-up here of his goal that's coming to fruition in the way it looks. Because, look, this is all empty space. And a fruitaholic like me is like, wow, we could plant more trees. But that's not his goal, and that's fine. That's fine, whatever your goal is. We walk up these steps, his elevated property here, and I want you to see how beautiful this is. Absolutely beautiful. It looks like a fancy resort or or a hotel or something that you're staying at on vacation in Hawaii or somewhere. Absolutely beautiful the way he strategically planned it. So in closing, tell us, as we saw the fruit orchard over there, tell us what you were telling me at the beginning of your goal and how it's coming to be.
I just wanted to have a beautiful garden that provided food. You know, I have butterfly plants, I have native plants, I have plants specifically for hummingbirds. So based on my experience with vegetable gardens and orchards, they're not the most visually pleasing. And so what I attempted to do was have a couple defined areas. You know, you can't even see the orchard from my house. It's on the side. The vegetable garden straight ahead, well, I wanted to maintain the view across the entire yard. So you can look past that dwarf Brazil. You can look past the teddy bear palm and go straight back to a whole thing of sea grapes. If you go a little to the right, you can barely see those raised vegetable beds. Eventually you won't be able to see them at all. And I also was cognizant of the fact that many of these fruit trees are too cold sensitive. We're about half a mile north of the Palm Beach County line. And while I'm east of 95, I'm still next to the state park. I'm not on the river. And so I took those interesting sort of novelty fruit trees, and put them in the ornamental landscape to be protected by the trees. And even if I get a little bit of fruit out of them, that's great. Versus my mangoes, I want lots of fruit.
Yes, and you have some potted plants here as well.
Yes, yeah.
Some
Because the house is
mangoes.
elevated, I did a few in pots. I have like a fruit cocktail, a honey kiss. I have a Cece Love. That's a pumpkin pie mamey. If you go around the corner, there's a Neelam.
Wonderful. And in front of your house, do you have any trees? Fruit trees?
In the front of the house, it's generic landscape.
Great. It's a look, yeah. Well, this is beautiful. It certainly is. And thanks for letting us come check it out. And we look forward to coming back and see the progress of Anthony's trees here. This is really probably one of the most beautiful personal houses I've been to.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yes, from a visual effect, from a frutivore's effect. This is gross. Where's all the trees with empty space? But no, it's really a beautiful place and very peaceful, very peaceful.
And we didn't even go over all the survival food. You know, I have lots of stuff that's edible that
you have a lot of perennial greens and things.
I have like the Carissa, the natal plum, and the cocoa plum, and the sea grapes.
Moringa.
Yeah, exactly. Those sorts of things.
Katuk.
Don't have that.
Oh, you gotta have Katuk. It's so good.
But you understand what I mean. There's other stuff that maybe isn't. There's a strawberry tree Jamaican cherry tree. Those sorts of things.
No, this is excellent. Excellent. Good job, man. And everybody, like and subscribe and put your comments below. All right, everybody, I told you I'm like a kid in a candy store in this amazing place. These truly are fruitful trees. And I look forward to coming back here when the trees are getting older and when they're fruiting maybe this summer. But this is a great example and one of the different ways to do this. There are many different ways to grow in many different styles. But what I love about Anthony and what he did was he thought a lot about where he was going to plant it and what he was going to plant. And he did a lot of research before he put it in the ground. He didn't make the mistake I did and just put stuff in the ground everywhere and have to move things around and play musical trees. He's experimenting and he's learning, and that's the way to do it. So great job, Anthony. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and put your comments and questions below the video. Have a great day and keep growing.